After giving up his Chinese citizenship to become an American, Jisuan built a quiet life in Texas, running a small used car dealership. For years, he felt at home. But now, a recently approved law has left him uncertain and deeply concerned. The Texas legislature has passed Senate Bill 17, or SB 17. Under this law, individuals and companies from China, North Korea, Russia, and Iran can no longer buy or even lease property in Texas. Officials say the move is about national security, protecting America from foreign influence and potential threats. But for people like Jisuan, the message feels very different. It sounds like exclusion. It sounds like discrimination. It feels like Texas may no longer be open to people like him. Jean Wu, a Democratic representative from Texas, has been one of the strongest voices opposing the law. He calls it an anti-immigrant, anti-Asian measure, particularly harmful to Chinese Americans. Wu warns that beyond its human impact, the law could also deal a heavy blow to the Texas economy. Companies ready to invest millions of dollars may now look for opportunities somewhere else. So today on USMag, we ask the deeper questions. Is this law truly anti-Chinese? Or is it a necessary step in a world defined by growing geopolitical tension? And why are more and more American states feeling the need to introduce laws like this one? This is USMag. We won't let America's enemies or spies buy our land. That's the message behind a new law in Texas, a law designed to block Chinese citizens from purchasing property. So, what exactly is this law? Under the new Texas legislation, individuals and companies from nations labeled as threats to U.S. national security are no longer allowed to buy property in the state. That includes homes, commercial spaces, and even farmland. And if they do lease property, the agreement can't last longer than 1 year. At the top of that list is China. U.S. officials accuse Beijing of engaging in what they call threatening, subversive, and harmful activities, actions aimed at overtaking America's economic, military, and political influence. Anyone who violates the law could face jail time and fines reaching up to $250,000. But there are exceptions. U.S. citizens and green card holders are not affected, and visa holders may still own one property. Critics, however, say this policy crosses a dangerous line. They argue it promotes discrimination, creating a system where anyone who looks Chinese could face unnecessary suspicion or scrutiny. In July, a nonprofit organization challenged the law in court, representing 3 Chinese visa holders. They argued that the policy was unconstitutional. But the judge dismissed the case, stating that because the plaintiffs were legally residing in the U.S. on student and work visas, they would not be directly affected by the law. Still, confusion remains. Across Texas and beyond, many visa holders from the 4 restricted nations say they're unsure how or when this law might impact their lives. A law written in the name of national security, but one that leaves many questioning where protection ends and prejudice begins. Is this law really designed to drive out Chinese people? By the year 2023, more than 120,000 Chinese citizens were living in Texas. But now, many of them fear that a single law could change everything. Those most affected are people of Chinese descent. Attorney Canlin Lee, who took the bold step of challenging Senate Bill 17 in court, says she was stunned the moment she first read the text. She said quietly, "If basic human rights no longer exist, then we've truly gone back 150 years." Lee lived in a peaceful apartment on the outskirts of Austin. Busy with work and court hearings, she barely had time to look for a new place, even though her lease was just 2 weeks away from expiring. By the time the judge dismissed her case, she had already started packing, halfway through the move. And even though the court ruled that she wouldn't be directly affected, the entire ordeal left a mark on her mind and spirit. Meanwhile, Jason Yuan, a small business owner, spends most of his evenings with the local Chinese community. After closing his used car shop, he organizes rallies near the Texas Capitol, attends public hearings, and speaks passionately against the new land law. At one hearing, he said this bill should be called the Chinese Exclusion Act of 2025. It's a chilling reference to history, because in 1882, the United States passed the original Chinese Exclusion Act, a law that banned Chinese workers from immigrating to America. Yuan says, stopping people like me from owning property just because of where we were born is pure discrimination. He worries deeply about his 2 children. At a recent rally, his 13-year-old son stood beside him, holding a sign, quietly listening. Yuan says, I tell everyone this protest is necessary, and I'll tell my children, when you face discrimination, you don't stay silent, you push back. Are Chinese companies now looking elsewhere? Between 2011 and 2021, 34 Chinese firms invested nearly $2.7 billion across 38 projects in Texas. That investment created more than 4,500 jobs, a remarkable contribution to the state's growing economy. But under this new law, even small business owners and companies trading with China could be hit hard. Many Chinese firms are already searching for alternatives. In Dallas, commercial real estate agent Nancy Lin has spent years helping international investors settle in. But now, she says, conversations with her Chinese clients have changed. According to Lin, several companies are pausing their plans, especially in industries like electric vehicles and solar energy. She says quietly, if this issue isn't resolved soon, Chinese companies may find it impossible to expand here. Those already in Texas may not renew their leases, and if they do, it'll likely be for no more than a single year. For Chinese Americans, the right to own land has never been simple. Their struggle stretches back more than a century. Until 1965, an old Texas land law barred all foreign nationals from purchasing property. It was seen as unreasonable, discriminatory, and a major obstacle to economic growth. Now, decades later, many fear history is beginning to repeat itself. Why is the Chinese project near a Texas air base under threat? For Texas Governor Greg Abbott, the answer is simple: security. He says protecting the state is his top priority. And that means one thing: foreign adversaries, including China, will not be allowed to buy land in Texas. Supporters of this stance agree. Chuck DeVore, from the conservative Texas Public Policy Foundation, argues that enemy governments must be kept away from U.S. military bases, farmlands, and critical infrastructure. This movement gained strength after a Chinese businessman, Sun Guangxin, bought roughly 140,000 acres of land between 2016 and 2018, with plans to build a massive wind farm just a few miles from a U.S. Air Force base. At first, the deal was cleared by the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, known as CFI-US. But in 2021, Texas passed a new law that barred certain foreign companies from signing contracts tied to critical infrastructure. And with that, Guangxin's entire wind project collapsed. By 2024, a Texas senator went even further, accusing Guangxin, a former Chinese military officer and Communist Party member, of possibly being sent by Beijing to spy. Guangxin denied it all. Through his company, he filed a lawsuit that same year, arguing that U.S. officials themselves had already cleared his project as safe for national security. Meanwhile, a Washington-based think tank, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, reported that between 2000 and 2023, 224 espionage cases were recorded against the United States. Experts in U.S. intelligence circles warn that China's Communist Party has become increasingly aggressive. Former FBI official Holden Triplett put it bluntly, "This is a genuine threat." But others disagree. Patrick Toomey from the American Civil Liberties Union says some officials are overreacting. He argues there's no proof that Chinese individuals owning or leasing property in Texas have ever posed a real danger to national security. Senate Bill 17, the Texas land law, isn't unique. According to a Chinese-American advocacy group, 26 Republican-led states have already enacted similar restrictions since 2021. And most of those laws were passed in 2023, right after a Chinese surveillance balloon drifted across U.S. skies. For many, these laws are about safety. For others, they mark the return of an old fear. The line between security and suspicion is once again being tested. Even beyond Texas, the message is spreading. The Trump administration has also made its stance clear. It wants to stop Chinese nationals from purchasing farmland across the United States. Patrick Toomey from from the American Civil Liberties Union Foundation warns that the Texas land law should be seen as a wake-up call. He explains that lawmakers have often used false national security fears as a tool to justify targeting Asian immigrants and other minority communities. For people like Jason Yuan, this moment feels critical. He believes that if Chinese Americans don't push back, the Texas law could easily become a model for other states to follow. In his words, they're trying to rewrite the very principles of democracy, but we still have a chance to change that. If we don't, America could start looking a lot like China. It's a warning and a choice about what kind of nation America wants to be. If you found this story thought-provoking, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.